Awesome. So welcome everybody. Do you want to do a quick round the room or should we go straight in, Maggie? What do you think? Oof.
Let's go straight in
Yes,
because we've asked
I get
people who've
excited, but
been
we haven't
here
got lots of
that
time, have we?
who
Yes.
they're where they're from and what they're doing, and they can let us know a little bit more in the chat as to what they're
Yes.
doing in runes. But we've only got 90 minutes, which
I
goes so
suppose we do.
fast, doesn't it? So shall we introduce ourselves and then
Yes.
we'll
You go first, my
get
lady.
started. So hello for those of you I know, some of you I know really well, others it's the first time I've ever met you. So my name is Maggie Rose Cunningham. I'm a rune teacher and trainer and a Northern Tradition teacher and trainer. And I've been working with the runes since they met me across a crowded hammocks bookshop back when I was about 14 years old, on that shelf where all of the things where they put, sort of vegan lifestyle and tarot readings and feng shui and all of those things that they don't know where else to put it was on there. And I saw the runes, and it's a little book, the Ralph Bloom book, which a lot of people is their first introduction. And it felt like electricity jolted through my body. And in a nice way, not in a horrible way, just to be clear. And I was just like, I know these, and I had no training. I was brought up in quite a Christian family, sort of, let's call them sensible people who weren't very, oh, this is very strange, this little phase that Maggie's going through, but it will pass. And they're still waiting almost 30 years ago. Yeah, more than 30 years ago now, still waiting for that. So I've done lots of training in Wicca and shamanism and crystal healing, and I'm a Reiki master and all sorts of things, but all of them really were in pursuit of the teachings of the runes and of the northern path, because I found it very difficult to find teachers and people who could take me as deep as I wanted to go with the runes, which is why I ended up doing what I do. And I have been running Maggin Rose is the name of my business and my website. I've been doing that since 2010 now, amongst other things, and still loving it. And very, very privileged to have found the fabulous Laura Daligan along the way, and for us to have run a number of things together. So it's lovely to come and be looking at Middle Earth rune magics today.
Yeah. And even though the idea of, Tolkien is very connected to Middle Earth rune magic, it's not literally about Lord of the Rings, even though I'm sure I will add in a lot of Lord of the Rings quotes as we go. But what Tolkien was, I know that Maggie's an Anglo-Saxon scholar, but he was very much into, I say he was into Northern mythology. He literally framed his books upon Northern mythology. So his world of elves, of dwarves, is the world that we live in. And part of this workshop, part of this connection we're going to be working with today, is working with the runes and working with the land to bridge that connection, because we know that's not fiction. We know that's mythology, we know it's folklore, we know it's animism, we know it's a life force that is present in the land. So if I don't know you, hello. I know a lot of you on the screen very well, and some new faces too. But my name's Laura, and I came at a bit of a different angle actually, because I had sets of runes for ages, and they were like, nope. I even had like a beautiful box of, oh, here they are, they're here actually, these beautiful Anglo-Saxon rune cards. I bought them in the British Museum many moons ago, and they wouldn't even open. The box refused to open. It was like, you're not taking this seriously, you're not coming in. And it was almost funny, it was a bit like, I don't know, getting the sword from the stone, that the box wouldn't open until I actually started taking it seriously, and really spending time with the runes, which very much happened maybe just before lockdown, when I really sat down and gave them the time and the respect that they deserved. And obviously I've known Maggie for many years, but that's when I started working with her a lot to deepen my knowledge with the runes, and she's an excellent teacher. And since then they've gone, right, you're listening now, and I did a degree in Viking studies, so a master's in Viking studies. And then as soon as I'd finished that degree, Odin didn't give me a break. He was like, oh, by the way, here's a book to write about the runes. So it's been initiation the last few years, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But I came in more from the Fae, from the land magic way, and then coming at it with the runes afterwards. So yeah, I'm really excited to do this workshop with the fabulous Maggie, because not only do I love Maggie, but I also love the topic. I love the land. I love connecting with the land. And I think that's why I was drawn to this part of the world as well, the Quantox, because the land here very much feels like a wild home. So that's us. And I would love to hear all about you guys. So keep, do put in the chat your connection with the land and where you live, or your lack of connection with the land and your desire to find spaces that work for you. But I think before I go on all day, we're going to pass you over to Maggie for her opening.
Yeah. We're going to create a little bit of space for ourselves now. I remember one of the beautiful things about the Northern tradition, obviously, is that Middle Earth is our realm. It's the realm that we're in now. So I'm just going to invite you to just take a deep breath. Notice where your feet are. Notice where your weight is being held if you're seated. Maybe just allowing your chair, sofa, whatever it is that you're on right now, just to take a little bit more of your weight to hold you. Noticing if your muscles are straining to carry your head, the heaviness of the head, and just allowing yourself to ask your body, what can I do right now to just get myself 5% more comfortable? What can I do right now? Can I ease my shoulders out a bit? Can I perhaps tense my hands and then release them? And just giving yourself permission for that. And then settling into the breath and noticing perhaps that your conscious mind, if you've been busy doing other things, the conscious mind can tend to rise up into the head. So we're just going to invite that conscious awareness to move down into the neck and the shoulders and the lung space and the heart, the pelvic bowl and the legs and the knees and the calves, all the way down to the feet. And then taking a moment to really notice your own edges, your physical edges to start with, and then your energetic edges, that place where you go, oh, that's where my personal space begins. I know if somebody is in my personal space or they're not. And noticing whether you're on the ground floor or if you've got more floors beneath you, that your energy body doesn't stop at your feet. It goes down further into the land because we are always rooted in our land. So just as you did with your weight, now opening yourself to trust the land that is here to hold you today, that's here to be with you today, that has selected this evening, when we're going to be looking at the magics of Middle Earth, to be your host. Just inviting the spirits of your space, whether it's one that you work with a lot, whether you're very familiar with it, or whether it's one that you're unfamiliar with. We're just going to invite them in, knowing that even if you're in somewhere that is very modern or somewhere that hasn't been populated by humans for very long, the spirits of the land remember. They have been here. They remember the land shaping itself. They remember how the earth came into being. They remember the plants first seeding themselves. Long ago, the spirit of the wild wind raced over the rocks and whistled down the valleys of the worlds. And it was so furious in its sound, so frenzied, that the land itself feared the coming of its voice. The wind will break us apart, the trees whispered. And then the Nornir, the fates, took the wind up and they drew it wide, separating the threads and twisting them into strands, and they hung the wind upon the world tree and they pinned him fast, so fast that he could no longer run, so fast that he could no longer outrun his own wild nature, his own destructive force. He shuddered, and the world tree itself shuddered with him, but it held him fast. It held him so tight, he caught his breath. And in that moment of sudden silence, the voice of Old Humla, the great cow mother, slipped into that silence and sang him into a deep sleep. And Old Humla gave the wild wind all she was, filling him with her life-giving song until his shuddering subsided And Odhumla sang to the wind, and in his deep, deep heart, the memory of the bright gift she had given him when he entered the worlds began to stir. And he opened his great, wide mouth and sang her song back to her. His tongue gave it shape and form, caught it up and held it, a bright, iridescent power that opened like a bud and blossomed within the air. And Odhumla smiled to hear her song, her own song given shape, rising now, independent of her, with its own shape and its own sound. And when the aurochs heard the song of the mother carried upon the voice of the wind, they raised their heads and joined their own deep, lowing earth song with hers. And the wind bowed to the aurochs and vowed to carry their voices always within his song, so that their strength might fill the many worlds and never diminish. And the wind travelled through the sharp mountain crags of the Jotun, the giants, and into the places of the thorns. And he soared up high to where the rivers rippled over the land, and the waterways of Midgard joined the great torrents of the Elevarga, the 11 rivers roaring down from the worlds into the roots of the great world tree. And still he sang to the long road and to the heart of the forge and the promise and the places where joy span belonging into the world. And he sang of storms and becoming and the turning of the wheel and the deep places and the soaring skies. And he sang in eldership and wisdom and knowing found beyond the gateways of the physical world. And then he was still. And then he watched as the story of the worlds unfolded, as the children of the trees grew and settled within Midgard, the middle realm. And as they spoke the ancient song upon their tongues, reshaping it 1,000 times over, until all that was left of its magic was scattered as seeds upon the back of the shuddering wind. Until the storm rose so high, the children of the trees looked out across the land, and all they could see was the physical world. But they felt the stirring of the ancient gateways and the forgotten ways of magic and the old songs of remembering. And then did Odin come as the wind once more to sing of the runes, great stones rising up out of the land to guard and to guide, to call us home into the places of remembering, to open the veils wide and to offer the blessings of rune magics once more into the middle realm. And so that is what we are going to be doing for this session. This, to me, is a remembering. It's a remembering of things we already know. So I believe that the runes did rise from the land and from the ancient ways and the ancient knowings, and that in our voices and in our modern tongues, we remember that still.
Thank you.
So welcome, everybody.
That was beautiful. Thank you. So that leads on perfectly to looking at ways in which we can work with the runes with the land, and work with the land with the runes. Now, as you get to know the runes more and more, you may associate certain natural things with the runes. So you may associate Bacano, the bee rune, with the birch tree. So it might feel natural to do magic to connect with the energy of Bacano in the presence of birch trees. And if you, even as you maybe work with Maggie, know your birth runes, you may find that there's certain aspects, natural wild aspect of those birth runes that connect with you very deeply. For example, my sun rune is Ewaz, and anyone that knows me and seen my Facebook is filled with horses, just filled with horses. And that's the kind of the way that Ehwaz connects with me. So there are ways that you can consciously work with the runes, get to know the runes on a deeper level, look at the associations that are out there and look at the associations that you deeply feel with the runes, and go to those places to sing the song of the rune, to chant the name of the runes in those places. And we're going to discuss different ways in which you can connect with the runes in the land. So there's the conscious way, working with the runes, thinking about which rune you want to work with. Or maybe you've done a reading for yourself and your rune for the day or for the week is, let's say, I don't know, Athala, the rune of the ancestors, the homeland. And so you'll go out on the land and maybe you'll find a burial mound, a graveyard, a cairn, somewhere that you feel is a yew grove that is connected to the ancestors, connected to a deep-rooted past. And you deepen not only your knowledge and your wisdom of Athala by going to those places which connect with it, but also you open a doorway in that place to the ancestors. So this is really a two-way weaving, and we work with the runes in the land. You can do it very consciously, and you can do it in a very magical way, or you can go out there and say, show me which runes I need to know. Show me the runes in the land. And I do like that idea of a witch walk, to have as much time as you have. If you can't go out walking, you can have a witch garden ponder. You could just look out in your garden. Or when I used to live in London, I didn't have a garden at a balcony. You could sit out on your balcony. This doesn't, I mean, I love being out there, but if you're not someone that actually enjoys being out in the wild places come to you. They really, really do. So one way of working with the runes in the land is to be an opening. I'll say a witch walk, but you can have a witch sit. Absolutely fine, a rune walk or a rune sit, and to say, okay, I would like the land to show me which runes they wish to share with me. For example, I did that a few weeks ago. Very lucky to have lots of ravens where I live, but literally the minute I pulled up my car, Odin was like, yeah. I pulled up my car, I got out of the car, and 2 ravens were flying above, honking, and I let them lead me. I wasn't going to go that way, but I let them lead me, and they led me to a burial mound. And then I looked, the whole journey was led by that guidance, and there were several runes which came through, which I later analysed to be present in that walk. So it's a really great way, not only to access your land in a deeper way, but to access your rune wisdom in a deeper way. And if you're not sure about, where you're living, is there sacred land, as we like to say? And I mean, Maggie will probably talk about this more, that there's places that we all know, no matter where you are in the world, that are officially sacred. Stonehenge in the UK, I think everyone must have probably heard of Stonehenge. And the stone circles, or certain burial mounds or ancient earthworks, which everyone in the UK pagan scene will most definitely know is sacred. But that's wonderful, and it has its own power, and they're beautiful places to work with energetically, but their power is already very strong. Their language is already very strong, and that's wonderful. But you have a chance to also connect and re-enchant and reawaken the magic in the land where you live, whether that be in a city, because actually I find the rivers of cities and the parks of cities to be equally as magical sometimes as the wildest places, or wherever it is. You have an opportunity, we all do, to reconnect with it on a deeper way. So what I'm saying is, you don't have to be living somewhere typically wild and officially magical to have these deep connections with the land and with the runes of the land. This can be in your garden. The birds can show you, the trees can show you, the canal can show you. So ways of thinking, so just recapping, 2 ways of approaching this, which are equally as fun, is to maybe do a reading for yourself with the runes, pull a rune and say, right, how can the land show me, where can I go in nature that will awaken more wisdom of this rune? So if you choose Lagus, maybe you go to a water source, or to just go, show me runes in the land. And sometimes the land will show you in twigs fallen on the floor in the shape of the runes. Sometimes the land will show you, I went out for a drive, I parked the car, a horse's head stuck itself in the window. Sometimes it's really, really obvious, like what's going on. So I'm just open to Maggie to sort of see how she's experienced this as well before I go on for 5 years. But how have you found this with your journeys with the runes in the land.
Absolutely listen to you for 5 years easily. Lots to be said. I think it's really interesting what you're saying about looking for the runes in the landscape. It's one of the really, really early practices that I did. I was one of those. I really wanted to learn all of the runes in order, and I found it really hard to get them all in order and get them right. And I used to walk. I was really lucky that I was born on a hill that was an Anglo-Saxon burial mound. It's a very sacred place, and I'd been there, every night. My mum used to walk me over the hill, and so I used to do a walk where I would look for all of the runes on that walk, sort of in order. And it was like a discipline. It was a practice to do that, and I found it really helpful because not only did it embed them for me, but it also got me familiar with the shapes of the runes that we might think are harder to find, because it might say, it's really easy to spot like Isa, like the single rune, or even algies with sort of 3 prongs, you can find them. But is it harder to find a thala or manas? And I really enjoyed that practice, and it gave me an opportunity to really experience that landscape and be part of it. So it was a slightly different practice, but then helped me with the runes are going to pop up as I'm walking without noticing it. Without noticing it so much, I suppose. So it's a lovely practice to do if you have a nice walk that you enjoy, to sort of look for that. And then I used to do it, and when I moved, I did it at the train station. I was like, there's not much nature around me, but I looked for all 24 of the runes in the branches of the trees above the train station before work every day, and it just connected me. So I think it's so right what you say about sacred spaces. I was very lucky to be born in a place that was, had been a sacred space for so long. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the history of the place when I lived there, but it made a lot of sense to me. And there are places that you could say, well, the land has naturally formed them as sacred places. If you're someone who believes in ley lines, and you could find places that have particular power and where forces converge. But I also think that there are places that need our attention because we have forgotten how to reverence them. People who go and do litter picking.
I love litter picking.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes visiting a beautiful sacred space that's curated, like Stonehenge, is a wonderful experience, but you're offering more to the land when you go and you look after somewhere that isn't tended, and find the sacred within that as well. So places that need our attention. Reminds me of Dharla, that we're leaving a legacy as well. We're not just receiving a legacy, we're leaving one too. So that would be what I would add.
Thank you. Am I any louder now? Because I just read a thing that I was too quiet. My computer keeps resetting to shut me up. I don't know why. It's very rude of it. It's like
very rude. And I think you leant forward and it was fine, wasn't it?
Okay. So you could hear me okay. That was all right, but just a bit quiet. I was going to add something to that. And it, like you were saying about the runes that you might find difficult, or a rune that you don't know as well, or you may be learning from scratch, you will learn different aspects about those runes which are personal to you from those experiences. So say like for a week or a day, you're working with a specific rune and you ask nature, your garden, your wild place, your beach, your cliff, your moorland to show you something from that rune. You'll know probably from having a look up and from what you've done before what basically that might mean, but you'll be shown so much more, because when we're open to the land speaking to us, it really, really does, doesn't it? It can show us some really powerful things. And it might not make perfect sense, doesn't matter. Don't dismiss anything. If you go, well, that's not very Bacana, don't worry, just hold it. Write it down, allow it to settle in, and I'm sure that in time it will all make a lot more sense, or you'll get the messages coming through at different times. And also that the more we work with the land and are open to it, the more the land calls to us for doing very things like litter picking, because it makes me very annoyed when there's litter around, but also just to be in more communion with it. In magical and non-magical ways, which is all magical. And I do believe that I was very much brought to this part of it. So I didn't plan to live here. It was just kind of happened very, very bizarrely. And then the land was like, yay, someone's listening to us, because a lot of people come here and they love it. It's beautiful, but no one's really looking for fairies. Well, not many people anyway. And like the fairies, like, she can hear us. So the more you kind of go out there, even to places like we were saying that aren't necessarily Stonehenge style sacred, where everyone's looking for fairies of some kind, you may find that your land that you are awakening a little bit will be very excited that you're doing this work, because that connection is needed. These workshops are coming up because that connection is very much needed. What's that saying? If we don't see something as sacred or appreciate it, then we let it get destroyed. So I think the land is going to us, excuse me, pay attention, there's magic here. And so we can have, I think, with those less officially sacred places, we can have deeper, more powerful and more personal connections, which will be very enriching. And the last thing to say before we move to the next part of this is that if we do want to work with a specific rune in the landscape, for example, let's stick with Bacano, you want to go to a birch tree, and you would like to connect with the spirits of that place, you can chant and sing that rune to that place to allow a gateway between the worlds to happen, and that it can deepen your knowledge of that place. So singing the runes and speaking the runes, or however or drawing it in the earth, whatever way you working with those runes in situ are allowing you to deepen your personal connection with that space. And if there's somewhere you want to work magically or want to do specific workings, then that's a really powerful thing to do.
I really love that, Laura. It reminds me, there's the yew trees in Glastonbury in Chalice Well. I used to go and sing to them, and I would sing Iwaz to them, which is like the rune of the yew tree. But then I found that they responded better to Eau, which is the Anglo-Saxon, like, what's the word, successor to the Iwaz rune, and they really loved that, and I used to sing that to them. And then I started to worry, because I thought, oh, well, what about the trees that don't have runes? Go and sing to, I can't think of a good one now, because obviously oak and ash, they all have their own runes, but like the aspen, let's say.
Yes.
How do I do that and honor the aspen in that way? But they will, like tree spirits and cave spirits and land spirits love offerings of runes given for a particular purpose. So like the Feiyu rune offering is a life force, because it's so connected with amber, with the life force sap of the trees, is a really good rune to offer to any tree or any living thing. So even if they don't have their own particular rune, you can start to offer this. Or I offered Perthrow a lot to hawthorn trees in my local area, because they had cut huge swathes of our hawthorns down for a big housing estate, and all of the new hawthorn trees were tiny. They had sort of been planted to replace them, and it was working with runes that connected them to the spirits of the trees that had been there previously. Got like their mother trees is what we did with Bacano, and we used Perthrow as well. So you can be quite specific in how you offer the runes to the landscape too, and I really love that.
A poor old aspen, it's going, dear diary, I haven't got a rune.
Yeah, exactly. I felt awful. So. But this is where experimentation comes in. Sing all 24 runes to a tree, and it will tell you which one it likes.
Yes.
You'll be like, oh, that one really resonated strongly. So you can absolutely do that. It's a really lovely way of working.
Yay.
We are going to choose a rune, each of us, to work with for the course of this evening. A rune that wants to work with us for today, a rune that might be a key to the landscape. We're going to select the runes. We're going to do some exploration of different practical ways that we can work with those runes, and then Laura's going to host a beautiful journey for us, which will deepen that relationship as well. But we're going to start by choosing our runes. So I want to ask, does everybody have a rune set? If you do not have a rune set, we can choose for you. Good, everyone has got their rune set. So I'm going to invite you to get your rune set, and I like to blow on the bag to just let any cobwebs of weird sort of just whizzle away. If your runes have been sitting in a space, they can just pick up the energies of the space, or if they might remember the energies of a previous reading. So it could be nice to do that. Is also giving them the gift of breath, which is the gift from Odin. And you'll remember in the little story that I gave to you, the wind is Odin. So we're offering them the gift of the breath and the gift of song and life force when we do that. And then I'm going to invite you just to close your eyes for a moment and connect with the spirit of the runes inside your rune bag or the box, whatever it is that they're in. Imagining that the container for your runes is the wide open space of Ginunga Gap, the great void, and that your runes are the potency, the possibility of the all, of everything that is coming into being, and that those runes are waking up, starting to, each of their little spirits is just flickering. They're alive within your hands. And that they're connecting with an intention, however lightly that may be held at this point, of connecting with Middle Earth, of deepening with your rune magics, or perhaps connecting with a landscape or the sacred land at a deeper way. And one of those runes is like, I'm going to help. I want to help with that. And so when you're ready, I'm going to invite you to reach into your rune bag and to draw out in whatever way feels right for you. It might be that you're a kinesthetic reader and so you get a little tingling of the fingers, or one of them lights up, or you just know, or you pretend you know which rune is the one that wants to speak to you and partner with you today. And then draw out your rune, and you can place it in front of you. And just take a moment to, if you're familiar with your runes, it might be that some impressions come forward immediately and say, oh yes, that's my first impression of the rune that came through. I had fun when we were just doing that. As I put my hand into the bag, it felt like 24 different sacred spaces opened up to me, and whichever rune I chose, it was going to be a different sacred space that wanted to work with me.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Those books, choose your own adventure books. I love those.
Your own adventure. Exactly. So I chose my own adventure with my runes. So through the work that you've just done, you've chosen your own adventure. So I'm going to invite you to share you can hold up your rune, but also just share in the chat box so that we can see what runes you've got. Is there anybody who doesn't know what rune they've got? I can see a Northes, I can see an Iwas, a Manas, a Tewaz. Very nice Rado there, and a Hargalaz. Laura's got an Algiz. Another Algiz there. Bonnie's got an Algiz too.
Algiz, Joe's got one too.
Oh, few Algiz and Suello. Fabulous. I can see in the chat box as well. And that's really helpful for us, because when we start to talk about practical ways in which we can work with the runes, we can make sure that we're covering the ones that you've got. So we've got a couple of Suellos with our sun rune, the sort of sun's chariot, making her way across the sky and lighting the landscape and guiding us maybe on new adventures. We've got the Algiz rune with the great swan wings opening up. I'm really getting that sense of that like the Valkyrie and the swans and the sun looking down over the land, and that perspective that we sometimes miss, don't we? Because we're sort of, we're land creatures down there and we can't see that in the same way. And then Tewaz, I'm seeing just the spear flying over the land too. Almost like Odin flinging the spear and consecrating the land that the spear goes over to this work together. And Reba, you've got Kinaz. I was thinking about Kinaz before this session. So I was like, Kinaz is in some ways because it's a rune almost of technology, because it's like the forge and it's knowing. It's one of the ones that I found more difficult to connect with the land and nature, because similar to Northes, I was like, what do we want? Northes is wildfires, isn't it? So I could Kinaz. To me, Kinaz always speaks of the colours of almost like the inspiration of beauty in nature. Is what Kinaz speaks to me of. It's the sunset, the sort of like rippling colours of the sunset, and it's the trees when the green chlorophyll has let go of them so that you can see what colours they are underneath. So it took me a while with Kinaz to go, how is it speaking to me through landscape rather than through like a torch going into a burial mound? But I really felt
I think with Hagelas as well. I think is it Tia, you got Hagelas, didn't you? I know that people that know it's the hailstorm, but what I've been really seeing a lot with it recently is it being the bridge between one space and the other, and making that journey between either two understandings or two different people, two different times, and the almost like that kind of warrior's need to move from one space and then be that bridge between the worlds. So it feels it's quite apt. I mean, yes, it can mean the harder work in a way as well because of that. But the hail and also the Hourglass is the key to the mother rune. So it's a connection to all, and being that bridge between humans and the wild realm.
Yeah. As a mother, and it almost holds all the 9 worlds within it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it is the 9th rune as well. So it speaks to us of wholeness, and maybe reminds us that nature is not always like fluffy bunnies. It's also that, the wild part of nature too. Kathy has got eyewares, which we talked about, didn't we, like with the yew tree and the spine. I'm reading The Wheel of Time at the moment, which if anyone hasn't read it, I'm reading on an audiobook. No one told me how much it is Northern tradition inspired.
Read it.
I posted it in my group. I was like, what is, these 3 people are clearly Odin, Thor, and Tyr. Why did no one tell me this? So if you haven't spotted it, I definitely recommend it. And they talk about the spine of the world, which is where I got the eyewares through. And they always talk about like being on the spine of the world, and they don't always explain what that means, but sometimes it means almost like the spine of an ancient dragon coiling through the world. And I can feel that with eyewares, these really, really ancient energies.
Yes.
Spaces where continents slide together. Also really speaks to me of the eyewares rune, and a bit of Hagelas as well, actually.
She's got manas. It makes me think of you being that conduit and listening to the messages that the ravens are coming to tell you. There's I think of you sitting there and allowing the guidance to come through to you from the land, from the ravens, from the nature spirits.
Yeah, I think so.
In the human representative, I think it's a good thing, isn't it? Because a lot of humans are nitwits, not us, obviously. But like, you can imagine a lot of nature spirits are like, right, who's this? So actually gaining that trust and being an actual seeing yourself as a representative of humans and what we want to do and that we want to co-create, and that a lot of people have just forgotten that most humans aren't nitwits really, but they've just forgotten, and that actually you're something you want to maybe do is to connect with the land so that you can spread that little seed to other people as well.
I really love that, Laura. It reminds me when people who've done a Drazel's Path with me, the sort of shamanic program, we spend quite a lot of time at the beginning looking at identity. And for me, it is that idea that we have to present ourselves back to the spirits of the land, saying, I remember who I am. It's not necessarily that we need to prove ourselves, but we certainly need to present ourselves and say, I take responsibility for the land upon which I live, for example, and I honor it. And it's that mana sovereignty, isn't it? The sovereign as being in service to something bigger than themselves.
And Miri has Rido, love Rido, the journeyer, and the rhythm, like so maybe even working with sounds and song and ways of connecting with the land through rhythm, through noise, through kind of your chanting, maybe the voice, or maybe you will be going on a journey now to connect with the land more, and it will change the shifting energies of your world. I love Rido. Again, more horses.
I love Rido too. I always find it's a great astrologer's rune as well. It's like the star paths and sort of reading the rhythms of the stars. And one of the things I love to do with Rido is, if anyone hasn't not read the book of Trespass, I could highly recommend it. It's by Nick somebody.
I've not read that either.
Oh, it's brilliant.
New book list. That's great.
It's a great book for Athala. But he says that old trackways and old paths are the most democratically formed roads. Because has anyone ever been to like a park or somewhere where they've laid out this path and it's sort of a weird angle, and then everyone's gone, well, that's ridiculous. and they've sort of taken the easiest path.
Mm.
And those paths are the paths that are formed, like the natural paths that have been formed through democracy, but through many feet traveling. And I like to walk them and then imagine the number of people whose feet have passed that, and animals as well. There's
Yeah.
ways that when time merges and all of the spirits that have passed through that are present at the same time. That's very radar to me.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. I like when I go out for walks, and I'm always following the hoof prints, because I'm an animal stalker, not like a nature person, like just stalking them all the time. I'm like, okay, if I follow the prints, I'll find them. So I spend most of my walks are like following the hoof prints, and that feels like a good Rido thing as well. Like, where are they? And you know that if you go into that thing where you're looking for them, you're not going to find them. But sometimes the treasure is just following the hoof prints anyway. Like, and they'll lead you somewhere else. It might not lead you to what you're hoping to see, but just taking that path and following the prints and seeing what you want to be shown, what they want to show you.
And Sue said, and I love the way that you put this, you said, I was chosen by Northers.
Oh,
Yeah. That every single time now, every time I do a reel, I was chosen by Ingus. Can't see it on there, but that's my room. I love that as an expression. I was chosen by Northers. It's beautiful. And, you know, I talked about the wildfire, you know, that the necessity that nature understands of when things need to be cleared so that life can come back, and speaks to me so strongly of Northers and of our relationship with the land, that brings a certain element of humility. When we light the need fire because we're in need, you know, it's that remembrance that we rely on the land to sustain us. We don't control it. It's not in service to us. Comes through from the Northers, Jim, but I think it's a beautiful expression. Thank you, Sue.
Can you hear Star? She says, I need you to stop talking, Mummy. Well, that's not going to happen, sweetie, so.
I'm going to pay attention.
But I love that about Northeast. I love, because it is, people do sometimes, oh, Northeast, but, and it, like you said, that feeling of we need this connection because it makes us whole, and our bodies and our souls are aching for that connection. So it's, I love that.
I said I got the Ingus rune, and it sort of inspires me that I'll share. And you can't really see it, it's so dark. That's my black. These are my blackthorn runes. They've got copper in them, but they're not easy to see. But I'm going to share a practice that I've been working on for many years now, and some people who've worked with me will know it because I often share it. So I make Ingus runes each year, normally at Beltane. I'm doing it for the summer solstice this year, and then I hang them in my garden as invitations to the old energies of the land to come back into the space, to say, you know, this is a place where you are welcome. And it's just, I love it as a practice, and it does really feel that my land is thriving, and, you know, the trees where I've hung them are doing really well. I've got a beautiful black elder, which is sacred to Freya. She always has her runes hung upon it. So I just thought, yeah, I'll share that because the Ingus rune has come.
And that sort of leads on to that bit of just saying how, you know, really easy, natural ways you can work with the runes. Maybe even thinking about the ones you've chosen today, or that have chosen you today, over this weekend, if you would like, or whenever, and, you know, like making the runes in some way. But you can do this with things like, if you have clay, you know, you could actually make a clay. It's very easy and it's very tactile and lovely to make a rune of that. And also, if you're leaving it out in nature, it is going to be degradable, so it's not going to ruin the landscape. Or you can travel with it when you journey into your place, your magical places. Or you can have it where you, just like I said earlier, you draw it onto the earth with your hands, with your wand, and just kind of creating that gateway directly from your energy to the land, which is really, really beautiful. And or using oils as well. You can anoint yourself with that rune before you attempt to connect with the land, before you go on that journey, as well as chanting it while you're walking. It's a good way to scare off the dog walkers. You're in around the landscape.
They're not messing with you.
Is there anything you want to add to that, Maggie?
I think those are really good. Those are really good examples, and I think it's just getting creative. We're seeing so many
Yeah.
people post to me, and they say, "You know, I found these feathers, and I made them into the shape of the Alga's rune, and I bound them together,
Mm,
either taken them home or I've hung them from a tree." Like mentioning clay was
mm,
really helpful. When with my Ingu's runes, I do them with branches, so I get 4 branches and I tie them together to
nice.
make a diamond, and then I hang it. But it's the natural materials, isn't it? And I think
Yeah.
even if you can't yell Hagala as much as we might like to, you can still whisper it,
Yeah.
right? Just that feel the wind upon the tongue. You know, so
Yeah.
anywhere that they're so versatile runes, you can pretty much
Yeah.
always find a way of bringing them in creatively.
Yeah. And it is the chicken or the egg, isn't it? That was it the energies that wanted to be put down into the runes, or was it the runes invoking the energies? So, when you're working with it, you don't have to work with it within a specific way. This is a gateway to connect with the energy, but if, when you're whispering it, singing it, invoking it in the land, it's already there, and you're making a connection with your own physical presence to that energy. So it's nice to think that those threads are already flowing and that we're just tuning into them with our, like you said, with like the you, and it was like, oh no, I'm ill, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. They tell you, and it's wonderful when they come back, when you offer something and they go, well, yes, that, but this was better. It's a proper relationship then, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Lovely.
Right.
We're going to have a little bit of an opportunity for you to it's going to be very brief, but it's nice to connect with somebody else. So what we're going to invite you to do, we're going to put you into partners we're going to do it like 4 minutes probably, so you have 2 minutes each, just to reflect on what you've taken from what we've said so far. And there's a bit of an invitation for you to be thinking about, is there a place or a landscape that is speaking to you like today, or that's come up while we've been discussing, that you think, oh, actually, when we do the journey with Laura, that's what I'd quite like to work with. So it just gives you a bit of creative time to have a feel into that. And how has the rune that you've drawn spoken to you? So we're just going to have a little two-way share. So we'll do 2 minutes each. We're halfway through. So choose somebody to go first, and you can just share. Is there a landscape that's speaking to you? What rune did you get, and what's it saying? And then you'll swap over, and then we'll come back and we'll do our journey together.
Right, because I'm an absolute terror, I have no idea how to put into breakout rooms. I'm going to make you the host for a minute, Maggie.
Oh, make
So
me the
you
host.
can do that. I'm like, oh God,
Ooh,
I forgot. Breakout rooms,
well, you have to
terrifying.
say, you'll need to say something inspiring.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm gonna make you the host, so I don't have to deal with that moment. So does everyone's rune they've got? Do you all know something about your rune, or is it something? Have you got a rune that's completely new to you? You can unmute if you like, just to speak, or just put it in the chat. But Tia, you don't know Hagalaz? Is it a new one for you? I think that's actually. Sorry, you speak. You speak.
The runes are completely new to me. And so when I saw your email this afternoon, you need a rune pack. And I was like, oh my God. So I got some cardboard and cut them all out.
I love that. I think that's sometimes the most fun way of starting out as well. 'Cause it's making you inscribe them, it's making you create something, and it's making you, connect with them.
It's very powerful. And it was funny because when I was touching on Hagelas, I was like, oh, it's a bridge. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh, no, it's channeling. And I was like, no, it's a
It's
bridge.
a bridge. No, that's the first thing I thought when you saw it. I was like, it's a bridge. Is it okay with the rooms, or do rooms and runes?
You do not have breakout rooms in your Zoom room.
Oh
So we
no!
can't do
Oh
partnership.
no!
That's fine.
That's why I'm terrified of them. I don't even have them. So
It's why
sorry.
it's this, because they're totally, they're non-existent in your space, so you're fine. So I think what we will do is that we'll just give you we'll give you 2 minutes to have a little bit of just like a journal on your notebook about what you'd like to do, and then we'll invite a couple of shares before we do the journey.
Yeah.
Maybe we're all meant to stay in the space
I
together.
think that's nice. Yes. Yeah. That's what I'll say. That not that it's me not having that. It's nice.
It was meant to be.
Anyone want to share anything that's come through about their rune? I was just reading the chat, and that Kat saw the runes carved in the Hagia Sophia. Utter envy. That's utter envy about that. That's literally runes in the land, like literally carved into the land. Oh, Ruby, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I got the Kinez rune, and I'm just really struck with, this idea of forge and fire and creation and stewardship and the relationship between those things. And my house is on a piece of land that's not huge, but it's big enough. And I have not tended to it. It's one of those things where I kind of don't look because there's so much to do out there. Um, and it just feels like a call for me to start there, with the stewardship of this land that I'm occupying, and just simple things like, having a fire pit and holding ceremonies out there, and yeah, that's what I got.
I love that. It is I was reading this thing the other day where it said that we don't often, not us, but go to our own land unless people come and visit us, and we go, oh, I'll show you around. But when it's every day, we kind of go, oh, I'm too busy, I can't. Oh. And actually, this is an invitation to make that space. It's not for just when people come to visit you or you have a day off. It's to kind of build that relationship with the land. Even if we feel a bit guilty or it's got a bit overgrown, it's even more a reason to go, okay, let's connect, let's tend this space. Kathy.
Hi, I live 2 blocks from one of the California missions.
What does that mean?
Now, oh,
What does that mean?
okay. When the uh, missionaries came to Mexico and they decided to occupy, in other words, they were living in California when the Franciscans came. Okay, anyway, it's a long history, but the point is when California, before it became a state, had been part of Mexico, and then the U.S. decided they wanted to take it over, and part of that was the Catholic Church establishing 21 missions, starting from San Diego up through Santa Rosa, and they were 2 days horseback riding apart. And so why they chose this, because this is, so what this tells me is that this is a far more sacred soil than I had been aware of. I knew it was sacred. There's an Ohlone cemetery just like 2 blocks from where I live, but you're not allowed to go there. It's fenced off. But the soil has talked to me for many years. At first it was very, very angry, and then I did an apology. But I think it told me to work with the fairies, but you know, uh, I keep running, moving, so I need to stand still. So I'm going to stay on my own soil and use the runes to protect from raccoons who eat up my Japanese iris.
I wasn't expecting raccoons to come out there. I'm not gonna lie.
We have raccoons, we have sloths, we have squirrels, we have crows, we have all kinds of wildlife, and we're about 1.5 blocks from the hills. So there is wildlife. We have deer, but they don't tend to come this far into the territory. But yes, I think I need to stand still and honor where I'm at. And I've noticed, I've been to England and I've been to several of the ley lines, and I know how powerful they are. And I watch for them in California. And there are places where things tend to facilitate easier than they do where I live, in the city I live. But I think it just needs to be awakened and recognized. There's more clues than I can explain at the
Yeah.
moment.
No,
But
thank
this
you.
is thank you. Thank you for this.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you.
This is wonderful.
It's a pleasure.
So
Isn't it?
So I was.
against the
I was.
raccoons. I was against the raccoons.
Well, no, that's Al Geese.
We love that. Okay, so I think because I'm aware of the time, and I can chat forever, but we'd like to do the journey and have time to share and to have space afterwards. So the idea of this journey is I will guide you through the most part of it. Before we start, if just have in your mind a sacred site that you love, your back garden, a sacred place that you, maybe one that you plan to visit soon, because then you can work with this. If that's not possible, just have in your mind somewhere that you really truly love, and a piece of land that sings to you, that speaks to you. And they say land, it can be water, bodies of water, it can be anything. So have a moment and see what your body is calling to, which land you want to connect with. And then in this journey, I'm going to guide you through the most of it, but we're going to go through a space where we will connect with this land. So I'm going to invite you to, in the journey, to visit this space. So, and then I'll bring you back afterwards. And I hope the power of Zoom supports my drumming. It should, but you never know with Zoom, it has its own little tendencies. So I'll just ask if anyone's still, could unmute themselves, basically. That would just help if you could, because it finds any reason to go funny sometimes, this old Zoom. Okay, thank you. So you can have your camera on or your camera off, whatever's most relaxing to you. And have your rune either in front of you, or kind of hold the symbol, hold the image in the mind, and you can say the rune to yourself before you go into this journey, and ask it to show you the secrets of the land. When you're ready, I'm going to take a big deep breath and exhale the day. Whether it's 11:45 or 10:45 at night. Let go of the day, let go of what you're doing afterwards, let go of what you did before, and be present in this moment and with the runes. And feel your presence on your land, where you are right now, where your house is, where your work is, your weight on the earth. And from that space, you envision your own roots, your own personal roots, going deep into the earth. From the base of your feet or the base of your spine, you feel your own personal roots going deep, deep into the land. And as these roots go into the earth, not only are you able to drink deep of the nourishment of the earth, but you become aware of the sensitivity of these roots. How through them you can connect and commune with all life, with the trees, with the grasses, with the land all over the earth. You can hear the growing song, you can hear the decay song, you can hear the noise. All of life whispering under the earth. Feel the room, the space around you. You envision it as if your eyes were open. The furniture, the decorations. From this space you see and sense a silver white mist that flows all around this space, all around your room, all around your land, until all you see is this transforming, transporting mist. As it takes you from one place to another, from one time to another, which is always right here and right now. When that mist begins to clear, you find yourself standing by a vast tree. This is Yggdrasil, the world tree. And as you look up, the branches and leaves go up, 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 beyond your wildest visions. And the roots go down, down, curving and curling deep into the earth. The trunk of Yggdrasil is wide, and you can see the life dancing upon the leaves and the trunk. You can see the life force flowing from root to leaf, from leaf to root. And as you look closer, you become aware that what you see is golden runes flowing up and down the great trunk of Yggdrasil. And you reach your hand out and you brush your fingers across this flowing life force of runes. And one rune leaps out into your hand, a golden rune, a rune that you are working with to connect with the land. And as you hold it, a doorway opens within Yggdrasil, a gateway that is transporting you to your own sacred land, your own magical landscape, a place that you love, a place that nourishes your soul. And when you are ready, you step through that gateway, through Yggdrasil, into your own sacred landscape. You feel the textures of the land beneath your feet and brush it with your fingers. You take in the scents, the sights, the feel of this landscape. Exploring the magical realm of this place, you trace the shape of the rune that you are working with, and and you sing its name to the land. And as you open the gateway of this rune by your voice, by the shape of the rune in the land, through this gateway, a spirit of the land walks through to connect with you. It could be an animal, an ancestor, a tree spirit, a nature spirit, or something else. But this spirit of the land has come through your rune, come through your space to share its magic and wisdom with you. This spirit of the land shares with you guidance of how you can open up to the land, how you can work with the land, how you can heal with the land. Reaches out and takes the rune that you were given and places a little bit of its own energy, its own magic in that rune. And then it gifts it back to you, saying that if you wish to work with them again, you have their help. You have their support when you open the gateway and call upon this rune. They will be there, guiding, supporting your work. And with that, the land spirit returns to the rune gateway, moving back into its realm. And you speak the rune once more, or trace it in the air, and that gateway closes. And you take the wisdom this guide has shared with you. Wander and wander around this magical space, this land. Perhaps there are trees that are standing out to you, or stones, or bits of the landscape which are catching your attention more. As you see that doorway back into Yggdrasil beckoning you. And you thank the spirits of the land as you walk through the doorway back, where you stand at the base of the world tree, and the doorway closes behind you, and the runes dance up and down the trunk. And as you look, all the myriad of magic and details this tree has to share with you, that familiar silver and white mist begins to flow back around you until the tree is hidden behind the mist. When that mist begins to clear once more, you find yourself back in your space, back in your home, ready to continue your day, your evening. And you bring those roots of yours up from the deep earth so that they rest a foot or two beneath your feet. And you take a moment and have a little shimmy, a very important shimmy. Stamp your feet on the ground and come back into the group. You feel free to unmute yourself and have a quick note down anything that came through for you.
That was amazing, Laura. It was just, I went back to a place in Turkey when we found, in a little village, we found a temple that is kind of unkept for Kabele, where it was where her labyrinth was. So it was wild. Like, it's not excavated. It's like, it is out in the middle of nowhere. And I think with drawing the swallow rune, swallow, when I went back, I was like, I was curious about my connection to her because she was everywhere. And she's like the Anatolian mother. And so I went back to that space and she walked out of the labyrinth when I asked the question. So I was able to like sit in that space. And there was a Gibo rune that was etched into one of the stones in that space. I took a picture of it. I'll have to share it with you. But it was like, I don't know, it was like just this warmth of like, yes, you are supposed to grab that thread and kind of follow it. So thank you for that. That was extremely powerful.
That's awesome.
I want to cry.
Oh, not good, but not good. Would anybody else like to share? I'd love to hear. No, not have to. Joe, you've unmuted yourself, so that's an invitation to.
Yeah. So I started with my algaes, which I have to just say has been with me all week. Laura knows this because I pulled this last Saturday and was ecstatic because I needed the protection. And we talked about, didn't we, Laura, last weekend about how sometimes like a rune will just stick with you and you'll just keep pulling it and or it's there. So that's interesting because firstly, a couple of weeks ago, I was also on a walk and I picked up a stick, and I picked it up because it was lying on the ground and it was algae, and it's actually in my car and it's still there. So when we started that journey, and you were talking about it, firstly, when you were talking about sacred spaces, my mind went to Glastonbury, and I was thinking, oh, I love sitting at the top of Glastonbury Tor and looking out over the land. But then at the same time, where I live is quite built up and quite urban, but not it's not a city. But I do a walk, and the walk that I do takes me through 3 parks and across a golf course and round a lake, and then through a quite old housing development, but it's very it's all big old Georgian houses and it's lots of open space. But so I love doing this walk, and whenever I travel or I'm away from home, the first thing I have to do when I get home is go and do my walk because it anchors me back to my land. But I don't really know that much. When I think about it, I don't really know enough about the land. So rather than go off to Glastonbury Tour, I was drawn to stay and do that journey in the land. And then something really strange happened because when we were doing that journey, and I was right by the lake. So when we sort of came through the gate, I found myself right by the lake, where there's lots and lots of hawthorn, and it's in sort of full bloom at the moment. So the blossom is just beautiful. But then I found myself with dowsing rods in my hand, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the shape. Like that's the dowsing rod. And then I was thinking, so in my head, I was thinking, I don't really know enough about this land, and I don't know the history beyond the modern history of the land. But actually, maybe if I do some dowsing, it will come to me.
Love that.
Yeah, so it's definitely about my connection to my local land, I think, at the moment. So yeah, but thank you. That was so powerful, so powerful, and I loved that.
Oh, I love, like we are saying, like, Glastonbury's already got a lot of people going, your land's going, excuse me.
Yeah,
Hello.
and I mean, I love Glastonbury, and I love Cornwall, and I go to Cornwall a couple of times a year. So there are plenty of places that I could have gone in that journeying. But sometimes I also find with sacred spaces like that are very well known, that sometimes they are actually quite difficult to connect with, that the spirits of the land, the true spirits of the land, because so many people go there with intentions, both good and bad, and sometimes they might mean good, and sometimes they deposit negative energies, that sometimes those places are not the places that I want to be necessarily connected to and do any sort of type deep work with, because there's too many energies, there's too much residue. It's almost sometimes like you feel like you need to have a good sweep out of those places before you can actually connect with them. Whereas with my local land, I don't feel that. Last Saturday, when I did this walk, I do it every weekend. It's my anchor point for the weekend. So it draws a line under my usual shitty working week, and it sort of brings me back home, I guess. But last week, I had such a shitty working week the week before. I found myself 3/4 of the way round on my walk, and I had no idea how I'd got to that point. So I thought, right, okay, this is really. So I stopped. There's some really big fir trees. So I stopped there, and I always have a chat with, well, I don't always, but I have a chat with those. And then I kept walking. But when I walked it on Sunday, I was like, right, okay, I'm now walking this with intention and with purpose. But the other thing that I did on Sunday is then, rather walking the path, that was interesting what you were saying, Maggie, rather than walking the path that goes through one of the parks, I was like, actually, I'm going to walk the hedgerows. So I walked all the way around the edges. So I did an edge walk rather than the direct, and that again, that really gave me that sense of connection to that space.
I love that. Thank you. That's really, really awesome. Does anybody else want to say anything about their... Oh, Miri, yes. We might go on over a couple of minutes. Is that okay with everybody? It might be about 5 minutes. Okay. Miri.
I really liked what you said, Joe, about the dowsing rods, because I've just purchased some myself, and I really like the idea of going to my local area and using them. So that's where I went in my journey. I just went somewhere really local because I feel, sorry, my cat has just been such a nightmare the whole way through this. But it's so, she was just like being really chaotic, and I realized what she was doing. She was playing with a rune, and I don't know how she got it, but it must have fell out my bag when I was picking one. But she's picked a rune.
She's picked Suelo, is that what she's picked?
I don't know.
Yeah, she's picked the sun rune.
I was just like, what are you doing? And she's just trying to eat a rune. But yeah, I really, yeah, Joe, what you were saying about like just dowsing and finding out like the history. So in my journey, I thought I was trying to imagine what it was like in the past around here, and I really liked the idea of connecting with the land through the runes. But yeah, thank you, Laura. It was really, I'll always love your journeys.
Oh, thank you. I love that. I love that your cat's getting involved. That's another workshop, cats and the runes, mate. let's next time.
Maybe that's Freya just going,
Yes.
well, thank you.
Yeah, Freya's coming. Maggie.
Also, they really love the runes, don't they? If you want to offer your cat a delicious rune bath, they really love Feyu energy in particular. They just can't get enough of it. Oh, it's been just delightful, and hearing what people are sharing about what you experienced on your journeys, and that connection with places like, as we said, that might not be the sort of the big sites, that lots of people go to, and actually finding those and rekindling that relationship with the land that we're on would be so powerful. So we're going to close with a rune song. Normally, when I open space, I sing the runes at the beginning of the song, but Odin was at the beginning of the circle, but Odin was very clear. It's like, no, we're going to close with an offering to our lands of all 24 of the runes. And if you know the runes, you're more than welcome to sing or chant along, or to breathe the names of the runes, and to allow the runes, as we go through all 24 of them, to be a rebalancing for you and for your space. Because often if we work with one rune intensively, it raises the energy of that one rune. And when we do all 24, it smooths the energy back out. But we can also offer the runes to our land as well, and to your spaces as a blessing to them. So if you happen to have any kitties by you, perhaps they would like a little bit of that rune energy too. You can absolutely offer it to them. If you just want to make yourself comfortable, one more time. Just feeling into the breath. Odin has been on so many wild initiatory journeys. He's been the wind so many times. He has been in the frenzy, in the whirlwind so many times. He has given me the blessing of being able to take so many people on a journey to witness his finding of the runes. This moment where he spins down after hanging on the world tree, and then roars out the names of the runes, and their echoes ripple out all the way to the very edges of the great void and back again. And as they do so, everything changes. It's like everything is washed in their energy. And then there is quiet. And in that moment of quiet, in the silence, which is just as important as the sound, I always find Odin just sitting by the edge of the Well of Weird, just enjoying the peace and the silence. And he says to me that these great journeys, these great adventures that we can go on, are arcs of becoming, each one. And every rune is an arc of becoming, and every breath is an arc of becoming. Ansu's the rune of the wind, the rune of ecstasy, the rune of Odin, is also the rune of the breath. So I invite you to greet your own body as your sacred land, your breath as the wind, and your heart as the rhythm. As we invite the runes into our spaces to cleanse, to renew, and allow ourselves to receive them. Breathing in the energies of the runes, allowing them to flow through you, to flow through your space like a great river. By the well of Weird, all is quiet. And in the far distance, you can see the figure of a man with a great, broad-brimmed hat, moving off through the veils, just leaving your space at peace, knowing that the land remembers what we've shared in this circle this evening, whatever time of day it is for you, is remembered by the land and will echo backwards and forwards through time. And when you're ready, just giving yourself a little bit of a moving your head backwards and forwards if that feels good, and just being really kind to yourself in the next hours, days, making sure you have some water, have some here. Blessings to you all. Wunyo, as I like to say.
Wonderful. Blessings. Thank you. And I hope that this has been an invitation for you all to wherever you want to take this, to explore your land more, to be the custodian or the messenger for your land, or to be the explorer of the magical spaces that dwell within. And thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody.
So lovely. And if you would like to work with Maggie, maggieandrose.com, I can always send out with the recording the details of our websites and any things that we've got going on, any courses.
Yes, I'd love to do that. If you want to journey deeply with the runes, awaken my year-long journeys, open at the moment to join, all the way up until
highly recommended. And I'll put the links out in the email with the recording in. And you can pre-order my book if you like. It's out in September. It's called Reading the Runes. It's out in September. It's on Amazonius at the moment, but it'll be out September the 9th, I think. Very Freya-like. But I'll share information about that. But thank you so much for coming and sharing your Friday Freya's Day evening with us, and for opening your hearts to the land and the runes. Thank you. Mwah. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.